Good evening, everyone in Hobart, and good morning if you're over in Europe. It's the 27th of January, 7 o'clock here in the evening, and 9 o'clock in the morning in La Sable d'Olonne. So, all sort of usual things happening. Simon's engaging with this blow coming across. Sablish and Kirsten are having fun together. Kirsten's going pretty quick. Goog is in some light weather, and Ian's chasing Jeremy across the bottom, and Guy's still making great time over on the side here below the bight. He got around Cape Lewin, which is really exciting for him, and he's well and truly on his way to the east rapidly, trying to get to Cape Horn as quick as he can. So right now, Guy is doing 5.5 knots, and he's done 125 nautical miles in the last 24 hours. A really solid westerly airflow. He'd be in a typical Southern Ocean again. We mentioned this yesterday. 30, 35 knots. 5-metre seas, rolling along. Exactly what the boat's built for. He just scooped forward. A big jump forward then, so now 126 miles in the last 24 hours and doing 6.6, so he's rollicking. He'll be loving that. And he got a bit of wind coming up behind him, but it shouldn't be anything dramatic. We'll just push it through for a day. That's coming through. Yeah, he's right on the edge of it, so it will pick up, but it's, wouldn't only be 35 knots, gusting 40s forecast, and it moves through really quickly. So this is 2 days out, and it's already gone past, and he's still got solid breezes, so making great times. You're doing 150-mile days for sure, and by the time the 30th comes, he's got more of the same. So Guy, he's got another 4 days left before the gate shuts. And it's a fine one thing, I suppose. But let's just say to the longitude there, 1,150 miles. He's not going to make it. He's going to be down here somewhere, and it'll close out. And you'll see that then he's not going to come up to Hobart, as he said. He's going to keep going as quick as he can to Cape Horn, and it's entirely in his right. So that's a pretty reasonable plan for Guy. And the weather's feeding right into his game plan right now, which is kind of good. Interestingly, he's from Ian Herbert Jones, about 1,650 miles from Ian. He's probably sailing a little bit faster than Ian, certainly is at the moment in the current weather, but I would fully expect him to sort of close a bit of that distance maybe going forward. But it's very hard to predict the weather, and the weather's going to change. There'll be a transition through February and into March as they go across the Indian Ocean. So you'll actually see that happening. Anyway, so that's a bit of an update for Guy. Arnold has actually just arrived, by the way. We're just sending messages out. I mean, not a rush. He's been at sea for 145 days solo, which is pretty impressive, and he'll be kicking back. I saw a photo of him and his son. He's sitting in the cockpit, having a good time. So we'll let him catch his breath first, and then look forward to having a chat with Arnold and see how it all went and what his plans are. Okay, so now coming back into Ian and Jeremy, it's probably a bit too far, a bit of a mixed bag here. We've got Jeremy sitting in a hole at the bottom of New Zealand, not going anywhere in a hurry, but the last 4 hours he still averaged 5.6 knots, so this is obviously a developing thing. May have just come over the top of him. Ian's back on track, right on the run line, doing 3.7 knots. In a northerly breeze, so that's okay. This is the Snares Island there. They've got to leave that to... there we go. Makes sense. Sorry, I didn't pull the weather back. That explains a bit better why Jeremy is doing 5.6. He's got a good southwesterly breeze there. And Ian is close to the centre, a lot less breeze, doing 3.7 knots, but he's still sailing. So that's good. And we'll just pull the weather across for a day and see what happens to the centre of that. It completely disappears, so moves very fast out of the way. So Ian will keep sailing, and Jeremy's got it as well. They'll be really happy to get around underneath, because this is a converging zone of weather. You come down the east coast of New Zealand, out of the Tasman, and anything can happen in this zone here. So it can be quite frustrating, but it looks like they might get a reasonable run. That's 2 days ahead there, and if we go out to 3 days ahead, it's going to go light, but it's not too bad, nothing to be worried about, and they'll make reasonable time. So they've still got a long way to go to Cape Horn, but they're doing okay. So come back to today's weather again. Captain Goog bounced off the line down there, and I'll just build that up a bit, so looking quite comfortable. He's always giving positive tweets, he really is having a good time. His water is getting critical. He won't say that, but I know it's on his mind. It was on his mind when he was in Hobart, and now he's he'll be watching very carefully what goes on. It's really hard to catch water in the Southern Ocean. When it comes, it's usually rough and windy, and there's salt around and all that sort of stuff. So he will. It'll be on the back of his mind all the time. Doing 3 knots there. Did 95 miles in the last 24 hours. So that's pretty reasonable. And how best to show what's going to happen with this high for him. See where the centre's coming. I'll just pull it through. Okay, it's moving. The no wind zone's moving up away from him, so he's going to get a nice northwester there coming through, and that looks like it's going to hold reasonably well. Yep, he's going to pick up speed for the 29th, and then it may go a bit quiet. There's through to the 30th. So the next 3 days, it's okay. You'll have a nice sail. I'll just see there'll be very few clouds and rain around, I would expect. Few little ones, but there's no blue in it. It's just overcast, cloudy, coming through in the next few days. So there's nothing that looks like rain forecast for him there at all. So he'll be drinking with long, cool drinks later on. Okay, so now for Kirsten and Abelish. That bit of heavy weather that formed in front of Abelish looked a bit worse on the tracker than it actually was in real life, but he still had plenty of breeze, made really good time. The last 4 hours he was doing pretty well. He's now doing 5.3, so he slowed down a bit. He was doing 6.2s, and Kirsten was absolutely flying. She still is. She's doing 7.4 now. So Kirsten's been actually gaining ground here, which is interesting to see. I'll just pick it up a bit more so we can see the differential. We don't have to worry about the distance between the boats. We just go on the rum line situation, and let's see. Yeah, 89. So let's just say Kirsten is near enough to 85 miles behind Abelish now, and that means she's absolutely caught up. If I remember rightly, at one point it's about 140 miles. So maybe pulling the barnacles off, they were a real frustration for her. She's managed to dive 3 different occasions and get them out of there. The scary part is that there was a new growth there with the little ones. And one of the things we know from historical purposes, going back to 2018, is that once you've got those little paws everywhere, they're likely to keep coming. And so I think it's going to be an ongoing challenge for those that have got barnacles now to keep them off for the rest of the journey. They're going to grow again, and that's a frustration. But boy, you can see, it may be a real difference now that she's cleaned the hull. She's able to get back on track and keep some pressure on Abelish, which is kind of nice. So 130 miles for Abelish last 24 hours, and Kirsten 178 nautical miles. So that's kind of cool. So what weather are they going to get now going forward? I think it's they're in the middle of a system now, just a good solid westerly or southwesterly airflow. I'll toggle it through. Have a look here. That's going to hold. That's until about midnight tonight. They've got a nice breeze, so they're making good time. Here we go, 24 hours away. So in the next 24 hours, they're making fast time. They'll be doing 150-mile days, and Kirsten possibly even much more. So there's one day that's through the 28th. We go through to the 29th. Still a good solid breeze. They can put everything up in that. And Kirsten's down low to the zone, so you can clearly see there's a bit more breeze down the bottom. So that might help her course. She may continue to peg Abelish down a bit. That's through to the 29th. And it's very consistent, very solid, all from the same direction. The seas are getting organised. If Kirsten keeps it up, she could gain quite a bit in the next couple of days. So that'll be fun to watch. And I've got to say again, it's never over until the fat lady sings. It's a long way to La Sable d'Olonne. So don't be too perturbed that Simon's out front. He's out front because he's sailing really well. He's doing really well. Everything's right with Simon at the moment. The boat looks good. Good on him. Congratulations, this, that, and the other. But it's a long way to the finish. So and don't worry, Simon's a mate too. So this is the deal for today. Simon's just come into contact with this blow coming through. I explained it all in detail yesterday, if you didn't see it, how we actually give the weather alerts. We gave him an update, and quite simply, The only thing that's really changed here is there is the potential for all of it to increase by up to about 10%. So I didn't give him a whole new rundown. I just said values may increase maximum of 10% to the values that were provided previously. Our estimated position of his state engaging this storm is pretty much spot on. So everything is as we have given him. And if we then just look at the discussion point on this blow, it's a quintessential Southern Ocean depression blow. This is the funny parts to be in, but even then it's not a problem because it's absolutely separated. This is a cell at the top of the low, and it's consistent. You'll see a constant airflow. So as it goes over him, the wind direction's the same, the seas are getting organised. This is just there's no such thing as a nice Southern Ocean storm, but this is a nice one. So that's about the easiest way I can explain it. He can set the boat up to it. He's obviously, being very cautious. He's sailing at 6.2 knots at the moment. That's not too fast, not too slow. He'll be into the realms of 40 gusting 50 and higher, 5-6 metre seas. Let's just have a look and see what it's saying. The seas, they're going to get bigger. So this is bigger. This is 7s in here, slowly building. So he's just transitioning through that. But again, it's just the size increasing and the shape shouldn't change that much. So once you set the boat up for a 5 metre sea, if it gets bigger, you don't have to do much more. You know what I mean? The challenge comes when you get sudden wind shifts and you really then got to start resetting the boat up, and considering all of those factors. So, and it's going to move quite fast. I'll toggle it through now. So this is 7:30 UTC. There's 1, 2, everyone's an hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I can count, 9, 10. Within 12 hours, it'll all be over. And so even then, the sea at that point is still large, but it'll drop back pretty quickly. And there's a bit of another minor front coming there, which could have some gusts and squalls and all that sort of thing in it. But generally, it's well within the capacity of both Simon as the sailor and the boat to cope with what's going on here. So he's well prepared. He knows what's coming and he knows exactly what to do. It's going to move really fast. If we roll this through again, you'll see he'll be back into a normal routine very quickly, put everything up and keep moving. So he's not going to slow down for Kirsten and Abelish in this. He's going to keep making tracks and it'll speed him on towards Cape Horn, no problem at all. So distance to Cape Horn now for Simon, about 1,200 nautical miles. About 1,200 miles, so sometime in the next 8 days or so, he could get around. And let's have a look at the long range situation for weather and see what's likely to be flying around the area. Just as a by the way. Just a general big low pressure system up there, big gradient. That's as good as it gets there at the moment. So this is through to the first. Bit of a front there, not a super depression, just a big front. So this is through to the 3rd, 4th of February. There's another little one that then pops up there, very similar to what's just gone through. On the 3rd of February, that's about as far as it goes. So that's not too bad. So 3rd of February, so Simon will be down around here somewhere. So there's no indication at the moment of anything really tricky for his passage towards Cape Horn. So that's about it. I think, good to watch what's going on, and we're just about to send out an update tonight, press release, and try and put everything into perspective of what's going on. And Guy's team is ready to take over once he passes the longitude of Hobart, because that's at that point he's out of the GGR, and we'll look forward to seeing him when he gets back into Sable d'Olonne. And you've got links there to follow his tracker and